Hi, I'm Alys Jackson and I'm an author. Welcome to the Children's University interview, where we answer some questions sent in by children just like you. For Children's University members, there will be an activity at the end of this video, and to earn 60 minutes in your passport, you'll need to complete the activity and upload to the online portal, or download and take it to your in-house school coordinator. Now, today we're speaking to poets, Kristin Martin. Hi, Kristin.
Hello.
Mike Lucas. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Alice.
Hi. Now, Kristin Martin writes poetry and short stories. She's the author of 2 poetry collections, To Rhyme or Not to Rhyme, published by Glimmer Press, and Paint the Sky. Her poems appear in magazines, including Blast Off, Countdown and Orbit in Australia, and the Irish magazine, The Caterpillar. And I also know that Kristin has short stories on the My Well Read program in Ireland. Now, Mike Lucas has written and published several books of nonsense poetry and 2 picture books, Vanishing and Olivia's Voice, which was a CBCA notable. Mike also runs and owns a bookshop in Blackwood in Adelaide. I also happen to know that Mike's brand new picture book, Bad Herbert, is soon to be published by Larrikin House. So hi to Mike and Kristin. How are you both? Have you had a very busy morning?
I've been for a bike ride.
A bike ride. It's good to know what poets do. What about you, Mike?
I've been for a walk on the beach with the dog.
A walk on the beach, okay. Yeah. Now, before we start, I'm going to give you a quick quiz just to make sure that you both really are poets.
Okay.
Are you both ready?
Oh, a bit nervous.
No pressure. So, Kristin, what animal rhymes with the word cantaloupe?
Antelope. That was a tricky one.
Mike, how many syllables in the word snoscumber, which we all know is a knobbly vegetable with black and white stripes, invented by Roald Dahl?
My favourite author. Yes, it's 3.
3, snoscumber. Okay. Kristin, the Dr. Seuss rhyming book about 2 kids stuck at home and bored all day is called The Cats?
In the Hat.
Correct. Mike, what is a shape poem?
A shape poem. That is a poem which is in the shape of whatever the subject it is written about. So if it's a poem about a butterfly, it could be written in the shape of the butterfly. So the lines would line up into that shape.
Correct. We'll give you that one. Kristin, what's the next line of this famous nursery rhyme? Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such fun, and?
The dish ran away with the spoon.
Correct. Last question is for Mike. Mike, what word rhymes with purple?
Yes. I usually, when I can't think of a word that rhymes, I make one up. So I'm going to say Gerple, which is the name of a silly koala.
What was the name?
A Derple.
A Derple, okay. Because as some people know, and all poets, I'm sure, there is no word in the English language that rhymes with purple or orange.
No. I have got away with a near rhyme with purple by using turtle before, and nobody noticed.
Yes, well, don't give away your tricks. Excellent. So now I know that we're interviewing real proper poets. We're going to get into the questions sent into the Children's University by members. So are you ready to hear what the children came up with?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So question 1 comes from Jack, who is 9 years old.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Mike, what makes a poem and how is it different from a story?
That is quite a very good question and quite a difficult one to answer, because a poem can be a story and a story can be a poem. Poems usually have fixed lines, so they're written in lines rather than what's called prose, which is paragraphs. Poems don't always have to rhyme. Stories can rhyme sometimes because they can still be poems, and poems can then be stories. So sometimes a poem is a story, sometimes a story is a poem, but sometimes they're totally different.
That is a brilliant answer. What about you, Kristin? Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I agree with everything that Mike said. They do often look different, though we can have prose poems that look like a story. But yeah, the line breaks are important, so how it looks on the page and how it sounds, because, I don't know, for me, poems, the pauses are important and each word is important. So often they have less words than a story. They're very closely connected.
There you go. Well, Jack makes a very good point, and I think Mike has a poem to show us which also is a story, although we do hope it's not a true story, Mike, and it's called My Dog Biffa.
Yes, no, this isn't a true story, but for all of those children who have dogs, and for all those children who have dogs who like to lean their head at the window while they're being driven along, here is a poem which is also a story. Biffa's got a hat on and he's hanging out the window. My dad is speeding fast along the road. Biffa's cheeks are wobbling and his ears are flapping backwards. It's a thing that dogs enjoy, I have been told. Biffa's face is smiling as the wind blows through his whiskers. My dad slows for a truck that rushes by. The truck just squeezes past us, nearly taking off our mirror. Oh, Biffa moves his head back just in time. That was really lucky, says my dad in pure relief. Oh, Biffa had a very close escape. Then Biffa accidentally puts his paw upon the button and the window chops his head off by mistake. There you go. And there is, oh, you can see Biffa. Can you see him?
Oh, poor headless
I know.
Biffa.
And I often get asked if that's true. No, it's not. It's a story.
Oh, thank goodness.
So
what a relief. Okay. And that brings me to the question number 2, which Mike and Kristin, I think you both said, do poems have to rhyme? Kristin?
No, they don't have to rhyme. My poetry book is called To Rhyme or Not to Rhyme. And first half of the poems rhyme, and the second half of the book, the poems don't rhyme, because poems don't have to rhyme.
So, Kristin, can you read us a poem that doesn't rhyme?
I can, and I've got some props, so I'm just going to move my camera back a bit, and I'm going to put on some props because my poem is based on a true story. So it's a story I wrote into a poem, and because I already knew the story, it was quite easy to write the poem because it didn't rhyme. So I'm just moving this back. I'm putting on my jumper because I'm pretending to be Grandpa.
Oh.
And Grandpa has a cockatoo. Here's Grandpa's cockatoo.
Oh.
Grandpa's cockatoo has milk white feathers, a canary yellow crest, and a beak as strong as pliers. Grandpa's cockatoo likes to pull apart pine cones, sit by the door, and when no one's looking, sneak into Grandpa's bedroom. Yesterday, Grandpa's cockatoo snuck into Grandpa's bedroom and used his beak as strong as pliers to pull apart Grandpa's laptop. This is what Grandpa found scattered on his bedroom floor. Can you see those letters?
Oh, I can. Are they the parts from the computer?
They are the keys from the keyboard that Grandpa found scattered on his bedroom floor.
And is the cockatoo still with us?
I I don't think that cockatoo is, unfortunately. He liked to eat too many things that weren't good for his tummy.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, question number 3 I'm going to give to Mike. How short can a poem be, Mike?
A poem can be as short as you want it to be. I've actually written a poem that only has about 20 words in. I've written poems which only have about 6 words. A haiku is a very short poem, but you can make it with 4 words if you wanted to. You can make it with 2 words.
Kristin, I think you've written haiku, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I'm still learning how to write them. I feel I'm getting better, but
can you tell the person who's written the question what is a haiku?
Well, haiku, they're from Japan originally. So originally 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, though you don't have to adhere to that syllable count. So usually they're written over 3 words, with every word being absolutely important. So if there's a word that you don't think you need, you can take it out, and then you can have less syllables if you want.
And the syllable is just the beat of the word, isn't it? And I was told that if you put your hand underneath your chin, every time your chin hits your hand, that counts as a syllable. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So it's paper is 2 syllables.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to a poem written by Mike, which is, I think, exactly 1 minute long, Mike.
It is. It's an exactly 1 minute poem, I wrote it for a book which was called 1 Minute Till Bedtime, where I was asked to write 1 minute poems, but it wasn't selected for that book, so I put it into my own poetry book.
Right.
And it is supposed to take 1 minute to read. I don't always get it exactly right, but we'll see how we go. So if anybody wants to give me a countdown from 3, I can start.
All right. So if you have any timers out there, children, it's time to get them ready. And when Mike starts reading, set the timer and see if it takes him exactly 1 minute. Are you ready? Give us a countdown, Mike.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. This 1 minute poem is 1 minute long. If you read it just right, then you won't get it wrong. It should last 60 seconds, not 1 second more. But that's what a 1 minute poem is for. Exactly 1 minute, or else it won't be. A 1 minute poem, you surely must see that 61 seconds is too long a rhyme, for a minute is just 60 seconds in time. 59 seconds is 1 second short for a 1 minute rhyme in this book that you bought. So it's up to the person who's reading it now to read it just right, and I'll let you know how. Please make sure this poem is read at the speed that will make it exactly 1 minute to read. If you're going too fast, then it's best to slow down. And if you're too slow, then stop messing around. You can't miss out lines and you can't add in words. To read it exact is the method preferred. And don't glance at your watch, for it might make you pause. And a pause in this poem would lose your applause. We're right near the end, and I hope you've done well, but it's up to the person who's listening to tell. So get ready to clap if it's lasted 1 minute. If not, then go back to the start and begin it. Was anybody timing me?
I think we're going to have to include that as one of the questions.
There you go.
How long was Mike's 1 minute
Exactly,
poem?
there you go. If anybody was timing me, come back to me and let me know. Let me know if I'm a bit nervous, I usually do it too fast.
Okay. All right. So we're on to question number 4, which was, what made you want to become a poet? And when did you become interested in poetry? So Kristin, you first.
I'm not sure what made me want to become a poet, but I've always loved words. I've always loved reading and writing. And I think it was after my children were born that I started writing poetry. Sometimes for them, sometimes for myself. So my oldest son is 17 now, so I've been a poet for around 17 years.
Goodness. What about you, Mike?
Well, my first poem I wrote when I was about 10 years old. And I think I should have known that it was going to be something to do with poetry or writing, because for my 11th birthday, I asked for a thesaurus. Where children get phones nowadays, I wanted a thesaurus. So I remember getting the thesaurus, and I've actually got a book here, which I remember buying when I was about 10 or 11. It's called, it'll be backwards probably, but can you see it there? It's called Nothing Solemn. That's what it's supposed to say. And this has got all famous poems by and nonsense poetry by somebody called Edward Lear and Spike Milligan and John Lennon. And then I started writing serious poetry. And then about 20 years ago, I used to live in Switzerland. I started writing silly poetry again for my children. I used to write it for them and send it to them because they moved back to the UK before I did. And then I had enough poems to put into a book. So I've always written, but I've just written a lot more lately.
It's a love of language, by the sounds of it, for both of you. But
yeah,
Kristin,
definitely.
I've also noticed in your poetry books, you often have the topic of nature. So you're a huge lover of animals and nature, it seems.
Yes, well, most of the poems I write about are something to do with nature, because when I'm stuck for something to write about, I usually go out into my garden or go for a walk by the beach or through the park. So it's the flowers, the plants, the animals, the clouds that is what I'm looking at and what inspired me to start writing.
Gorgeous. Well, can you read us the poem you wrote called Window Gecko?
Certainly, I'd love to. I've got a prof again. This is my window gecko, though this one's not a real gecko. This is my son's old toy, my youngest son. He's 14 now, so he lets me keep this one because he doesn't need it. But I was inspired by a gecko used to walk across my kitchen window. So here's my window, and oops, now I can't hold the gecko and the book at the same time. That's what I'd see when I saw the window gecko.
Oh, gorgeous.
My window. And now I've just lost the page in the book, so bear with me while I turn back to the window gecko. I love the window gecko, how she crawls across the glass with her silky-looking belly and her eyes that glint like brass. I adore her sticky toes on those tiny sticky feet and the way she snaps her tongue out when she catches moths to eat. I treasure all those moments when she comes to visit me, but it's winter, so she's sleeping, and I miss her terribly.
Oh, gorgeous. So do you have a resident gecko in your house usually?
Well, we have geckos that live outside, and I'm not really sure where they live, and every once in a while they walk across the window, one or the other.
We've got one lives indoors. It lives in our playroom and occasionally goes across the wall. The kids love it. Okay, the next question is, where do you get your ideas from? Mike?
Okay, well, I get my ideas from seeing things and from hearing things. And sometimes, people don't believe this, sometimes I get them from dreaming. I have woken up in the morning sometimes with a whole poem in my head. And it's rhymed. It's not a long poem, but it's a short poem. So I'll get my ideas from dreaming them, believe it or not. I must have been awake at some point. I'll get them from other ideas. So I'm an idea from other people. So I'm a bit of an idea thief. So somebody else might give me some idea. I'll give them from driving around. Sometimes it'll be a first line. So like once I was driving along and I saw a sign which said beware of snakes, and my mind went beware of snakes and cornflakes. There you go. So that was one. And sometimes it'll be a whole story and then I've got to write the poem. But sometimes they just pop into your head from those strange places in your head that you don't know exist as well. I think we've all got them. You're just walking along and you don't know where they come from, but something pops into your head from some deep down in your mind.
And you just chase that thought.
I chase that thought, or if it's really rubbish, I don't.
And Kristin, how about you? Where do you get your ideas from?
Well, I get most of them from nature. So I said, you know, watching the gecko crawl across the window. But I've realised my parents-in-law, my husband's parents, so my kids' grandparents, are a very good source of poems because they look after injured animals and they often have animals at their house. And sometimes when I'm a bit stuck, I think, oh, what happened with my parents-in-law? Oh, that's a good idea. So I steal them from anywhere.
Ideas are everywhere. You've just got to write them down, haven't you?
Yes.
Store them somewhere. Now, Mike, you've got an interesting poem.
Yeah.
A possum stole my underpants.
Yes, this was quite a popular one in this book, I think. Of
So
mine.
where did you, before you do read that, where did you get the idea from that one?
Probably because we had some possums living in our ceiling at the time, and it became a bit of a. Obviously, we didn't want to hurt them, and obviously we couldn't rehome them, but we had to get them out of the roof and put a possum box up. I suppose maybe subconsciously because they used to run along the fence at night, where all the washing was hung out. So maybe there was a possum out there running along beside my underpants. Maybe it came from that. I've never thought about that one, but that could well be where it came from. There isn't a possum going around anywhere with my underpants at the moment, as far as I know.
All right. So, A Possum Stole My Underpants by Mike Lucas.
A possum stole my underpants while I lay in my bed. A possum stole my underpants and wore them on his head. A possum stole my underpants and leapt from tree to tree. A possum stole my underpants. It didn't bother me. A possum stole my underpants, but I had worn those undies. A possum stole my underpants for a whole month of Sundays. A possum stole my underpants while I lay in my bed. A possum stole my underpants and sniffed them. Now he's dead. There you go. And there's the possum wearing my underpants. Can you see it? There you go.
Lovely picture.
Oh, dear.
Mike, who does the illustrations for that?
I did the illustrations for that book, those books actually.
Did
Yes,
you?
I know. Yeah, so I can do a certain amount of illustrations.
Mhm.
I usually, do you know what? And this is a good tip. If you want to draw something, just put in the internet how to draw whatever you want to draw, a possum, and then you take the picture and you just alter it a little bit, put some underpants on it, because you can't find a possum wearing underpants on the internet. But, you
Unlikely.
know, unlikely. But there you go. There's a tip for you. And yeah.
And what about you, Kristin? Who did the illustrations for?
Certainly not me. I have a brilliant illustrator called Joanne Knott, who is a botanic artist, and her pictures.
They're gorgeous.
There's the window gecko.
Oh, lovely.
She's just beautiful. All the animals that she draws so beautifully.
Love the sunflowers.
So do I.
Mm. Okay. One of the last questions we have for you both was, do you have any pets?
Yes.
And can we see them?
Yeah.
Please. Now, Mike, who is that?
This is Buddy. This is Buddy, and he's about 1 year old.
Oh.
And he's very gentle, but a bit of a menace. He likes to stay awake all night and push things around the floor and wrestle with our other cat, who is Morgan, who is 15 years old. We're going now, and we'll go and get another one in a minute. Yeah? There you go. There you go. Now, this is Holly, the bookshop dog.
Oh, hey.
Hello. Ooh. Where's she gone?
Oh.
So there's Holly, the bookshop dog.
How old is Holly?
She's 7.5, nearly 8. Oh, it can't be 7.5, nearly 8. That's silly, isn't it? If you're 7.5, you're just as close to 7 as you are to 8. There you go. 7.
And when you say Holly is the bookshop dog, what do you mean?
She works in the bookshop each day. So she goes to the bookshop and she works up there. And she looks out at people when they're walking past and she gives them that look that says, come into the shop and buy some books.
And this is Shakespeare Books up in Blackwood, isn't it?
Shakespeare's bookshop up at Blackwood, that's right.
So if any of you want to go and meet Holly and Mike and talk books, you can go and see him in Shakespeare Books. Now, Kristin, I know you have an unusual pet, and Kristin is now going to read us a poem. I'm not sure I should even give away the title of the poem, or do you want to? Because I think we need you to guess, please, what pet and what animal is Kristin's poem about?
Well, it's called There's a Dragon in My Bedroom. It goes like this. There's a dragon in my bedroom with a long and scaly tail. She has spikes around her collar that are sharper than a nail. There's a dragon in my bedroom with 4 sets of razor claws. She has rows of sharpened scissors set inside her fearsome jaws. There's a dragon in my bedroom who's out tracking down her prey. When she's hungry and she's hunting, then I stay out of her way. There's a dragon in my bedroom who adores her daily meal. When she finds those jumping crickets, she just snaps them up with zeal. There's a dragon in my bedroom who's the nicest one I've met. She's a baby bearded dragon, and she's my beloved pet. And there's the picture of her when she was a baby. But we've since found out she's not actually a girl, she's a boy. And he's right over here. I'll grab him.
Okay.
Here he is. This is Ash.
Gosh, he's bigger than I was
He's
expecting.
a lot bigger. He is a bearded dragon. So he's on the front cover of the book. You can see him there.
Yeah.
And down the bottom corner, that's a picture of Emily, one of my turtles. And we've actually got 4 turtles, but they're out in the garden and they're actually hibernating, or brumating it's called.
Mm.
So,
Kristin, I've got a question. Why are they called bearded dragons?
well, they look like they have a beard around them, and when they get when they're being aggressive or feeling threatened, the skin comes up around their throat and looks like a beard, but it always is a bit prickly around there anyway.
So where would he normally live in Australia?
In the desert.
Right.
It's my son's present a few years ago, and I've lost track of how many years we've had him. He's now the family pet, lives by the kitchen table.
Gorgeous.
And I just had a thesaurus.
What's that?
I just had a thesaurus for my birthday, and your son gets a bearded dragon.
And I have two last questions, and then we're finished. The second to last question was, what was your favourite subject at school, Mike?
Totally out of character, I enjoyed maths. I'm afraid, which is really odd because I'm an engineer. I'm a full-time engineer. That's my full-time job, and I still enjoy maths. To be honest, so I've got a brain which works both sides. And maybe I had a better maths teacher than I did an English teacher, because I didn't do too well at English at school. I did okay, but in my secondary school I didn't do brilliantly. It just shows it's not always how well you do at school, it's to how well you do in life on something.
There you go. It's not set in stone.
No, it's not.
No. What about you, Kristin? Your favourite subject?
Well, it was English, but I've always liked maths as well, particularly in primary school. And I'm actually a primary school teacher, and I like teaching maths. Love teaching poetry. Of course, that's the best. But teaching maths is fun. And there's patterns. There's maths in poetry.
Yeah.
So rhyming poetry is very mathematical.
I would agree with that. I think so too. I would agree that there's pattern and rhythm to maths as well as to language.
And I think that's why maybe by Kristin as well, and you write rhyming poetry rather than open poetry. Open poetry, which has no rules whatsoever, scares me a little bit, because there are no rules whatsoever. Too many choices. There's too many choices.
You can make up your own rules. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I do. My own rules are my poems rhyme and are metered. So that's what I do. That's my rules that I set, but other people don't have to set.
I think when I write poetry that is free verse, so not rhyming, it has to obey a certain number of rules, and that it has to have rhythm. It doesn't have to rhyme, but it must maintain a rhythm.
Which is more of a kind of blank verse, really, than free verse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But yes, you still maintain a kind of a structure. I think when you're writing your blank verse or your free verse.
Yes.
Now, the very last question I have from children was, who is your favourite poet? Apart from yourselves and each other and me. What is your favourite poet?
I still like Roald Dahl's revolting rhymes.
Oh, yes, that's a good one.
I like Roald Dahl as an author and as a poet. See, there you go. He writes stories and he writes poetry.
Yeah.
I also, can I have 2?
Yes.
All right, A.A. Milne, Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yes.
I mean, again, the same kind of poetry, just fabulous rhyming poetry. A little bit nonsense, a little bit silly, and sometimes a little bit poignant and sad sometimes as well.
Yes, I'd agree with that. And Kristin, what about you?
Oh, I can't choose a favourite poet. Sorry, I can't do that. I do like A.A. Milne. I like Rachel Mead. She's an adult poet. And one of my favourite poems at the moment is by Meg McKinley. So I really enjoy her Gardener's Guide to Poetry, I think it's called.
Right.
But so many wonderful poets: Janine Bryan, Alys Jackson, Mike Lucas.
Okay, thank you both very much. Can we finish with one more poem from each of you?
Yeah, certainly.
Do we have...
Yep, who first? Were you going first, Mike?
I'll go
Mike?
first. Should I decide?
You decide, and you let us know the poem you're going to read.
Yeah. I am going to read a serious poem called Lucky in Life, because I don't just write silly poems, I write serious poems as well. In fact, this book's called Big, Silly and Little Sensible, because it has got mostly silly poems in there, but a few sensible ones in there. So this is called Lucky in Life. There are people less lucky than me, for I've had my breakfast, my dinner and tea. I sleep in a bed and I wake in the morning. I've lived lots of days since the day I was born. My house has a roof and some walls and a door. When I step outside, there is no one at war. I visit a doctor when I don't feel well, or when I'm unhappy, I have someone to tell. I'm liked by so many, even loved by a few. I always have lots of nice fun things I can do. I hope if you're reading this, that you will be someone who is lucky in life just like me.
Oh, that's lovely.
There you go.
Yes, very nice.
There you go. Got it right first time, didn't I?
And Kristin, what have you chosen?
I'm going to do another grandpa poem. So I'm going to put my grandpa top back on, because this poem's based on my father-in-law, though I've made up characters in the poem, just like you make up characters for a story. But this is about when Grandpa came over, and the poem's called Putting on Weight. So I'm just going to stuff my towel down my throat.
Very mysterious. I like it.
Putting on weight. That means getting fat. Putting on weight. Last night, Grandma and Grandpa came for dinner. Dad took one look at Grandpa and said, "Are you putting on weight?" Mum told Dad off, but Grandpa just laughed, unzipped his jumper and pulled out a towel. Charlie and I crowded around as he carefully unrolled it. Carefully unrolled. Wrapped inside was a little orphaned koala, about the size of Grandpa's hand. She'd normally still be in her mum's pouch, he said. Grandma gave Grandpa a small bottle full of white liquid, like the one Charlie uses to feed her dolls. Then Grandpa sat down on the couch, put the bottle up to the koala's tiny mouth and slowly squirted it in, drop by drop. We have to do this every 3 hours, Grandpa explained, so that she'll put on weight. And of course, my koala's not real, but when Grandpa did this, he had a real baby koala in a towel up his jumper. And I just couldn't help but write a poem about it. And if you look at it, it sounded a bit like a story, but if you look at it, it looks like a poem. And there's the gorgeous illustration of the baby koala that Grandpa was holding.
What a lovely way to finish. Well, thank you very much, Mike and Kristin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for sending in questions and for watching today. And don't forget, when you've completed the activity, to upload it onto the Children's University portal, or download and take it to your in-house school coordinator for a 1-hour stamp in your passport. And that's the end of our interview. It's lovely to see you both. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.